Hello and welcome back to On the Workbench. Today we're taking a look at the Kobalt 24 volt brushless D-handle jigsaw. This is part of the 24 volt brushless lineup. So this tool's been out actually for quite some time. I've been holding off on getting this with the secret hope that they would really release a D-handle jigsaw. But push comes to shove, you just need a jigsaw and you need a jigsaw. So I ended up breaking down and buying this. And so take a look at what we get on this jigsaw here. A couple quick specs. A 1-inch stroke with speeds between 0 and 3,000 strokes per minute using T-shank blades. This does not include batteries. This is a tool only, and we can see the same specs on the back. And because this is such an early tool, there's nothing really exciting to look at in 2021 down here on the tool. It's not even the tool grid. It's just a few tools at the bottom. So if a tool is allowed to be long in the tooth in the Kobalt lineup, this is probably one of them. So coming out of the box, this comes wrapped. We've got, so something here I'm not too happy with, the fact that we would need a Allen key, but we do get the edge guide. That's really nice. Some tools don't include an edge guide when they try to cut, when corners are cut. Also in this package is a blade, which is great to have a free blade included. In fact, there are two blades included. There's a metal and a wood cutting blade. Let's take a look at the tool here. This has a rubber overmold going across most of the top of the tool. Spot for the battery on the rear. And at the bottom, we have a no-mar plate that we can remove. So if you're working on delicate surfaces, you can use the plastic plate. Otherwise, you can use this metal plate here. It would be nice if we could order replacement of these no-mar plates, because that would be a key feature to me that I think is a consumable item with the saw if you're doing a lot of cutting. And then on the side, we've got 3 actions, 1, 2, 3, for the orbital modes. And then on the front, we've got a blade guard here, which is kind of flimsy in my opinion here, that this doesn't really have a lot of extra protection here, but you know, it'll have to do. And then there's also a light up here, which is nice because these battery powered tools are able to include a light. And for blade change, this is supposed to be a tool free blade change. Let's get out one of the tools, one of the blades here. All right, so for installing the blade, there's a neat little, I guess we'll almost consider this a hidden feature, if you will. If you take what would be the left side of the jigsaw, there is a little side here, and this actually flips forward. You can lift this up to turn the top, this little notch here on the blade, pop that up, and then drop in your T-shank blade. Make sure your T-shank make sure the T-shank grabs, then make sure your blade is on the roller bearing here on the back, and then you should be good to go with that. So then we can take a battery. I'm just going to take a 2 amp hour battery here. We'll put this on. There's another button here at the front here. There's a lock and an unlock button. In my opinion, you should, the easiest way to lock this tool is to take the battery off, obviously. And then we can unlock the tool. And go to town. And then on the other side, opposite of the orbital mode, is a switch for a blower or no blow. So at the bottom down here is blow. This no blow to be able to blow away your dust. I'm going to keep the blower on there. Another feature on this saw, that if you need to be able to have a bevel or cut at a miter, we can, let me take the battery off here. We can push this locking lever aside and then push this forward. Then there are detents here for 0, presumably 15 and 30 to either side, and 45 to be able to make the appropriate miter, and then reset it back down to 0, slide it into place, lock it back down with that lever. That's really nice. And if you're on a rounded surface, there is a nice little groove here, so if you need to notch out the end of a pipe, to make sure you take off the plate, then you got this little groove right here that you could ride this in along a pipe or a dowel to be able to make that cut. Snap that back into place. And if you can see carefully here, the light here is just enough that it's not too bright and powerful and stays on after you press the trigger for a few seconds here. So a nice little added feature. So one of the other questions you may be asking is, what about this Allen key and those 2 screws that are in here? Well, those are for a specific purpose. These actually go to either side of the blade. I'm not getting that in there very well. There we go, like this. Screw one in here. And we'll screw one on the other side. They go in there, and that is for use with the edge guide, because in the edge guide here, it can slide across one or both of those to lock into place as necessary for whatever you're trying to cut. Or go all the way across. So lots of nifty options there, so you can actually secure it on both sides rather than just one, which I think is a really neat feature. And so then with that, that's where you'd use the Allen key to tighten that down. Now to me, I'm a little surprised they don't just make a little knurled nut right here to give you a little better grip to lock that down. I'm not really sure why you need an Allen key, and I suspect you could probably replace these with another screw. Just in case you're wondering, these screws are an M5 by 0.8 millimeter thread pitch. So if you're looking to replace these with a thumb screw, you'll need an M5 by 0.8 screw to be able to fit these threaded holes here on the Jigsaw. Also, in case you're wondering, the Allen wrench that came with this here is a 4 millimeter Allen wrench. And so if you want to throw this one away and use whatever you got in the rest of your set, that's fine. There is no onboard storage for this wrench. All right, so now to put this Jigsaw to the test, what I've got here is I've got a couple of patterns here that a men's group I'm a part of. We will cut up some of these various plywood shapes, and then individuals with disabilities in the local community can paint these up and sell these as a fundraiser. And so I've got a couple of these that I need to cut out for my group project. And so I've got the Jigsaw here. For this purposes here, I went ahead and took off the non-marring base plate. I've got a freshly charged battery, and then I've got a set of the Bosch Jigsaw blades. I'm going to get what is pretty close to a brand new Bosch Jigsaw blade. I should have a brand new one here, plenty to spare with these T-shank blades. Since we're scrolling here on these cuts, I'll take this Swiss-made Bosch blade here that's made for wood scrolling. I grabbed 2 of them. Let me make sure I only get 1 of these. This is out of a brand new corner on my Jigsaw blade set here. So we got the T-shank blade. We'll go ahead and put this into the tool. Again, we're using this rather novel, clever way, if you ask me, way to install the blade. Put it in just like that. Double check that the blade is seated in the bearing here. Plenty of room there. Then I'll go ahead and, in this case here, I'm going to put this in Orbital Mode 1 for what I'm cutting here. I don't want to be too aggressive. There's some of these that I might need to dial that back a little bit, but I don't need to be super aggressive with my cutting to go to Orbital Mode 3. Put on the battery, and we'll see how much cutting we get done. Let me move the camera out of the way. Then, of course, I will have to time-lapse this for the video here. And now with the scrap plywood, we're going to test the orbital modes on the Jigsaw here. We're going to start all the way down in 0 and look at the cut quality. So then in 0, you can see there's basically no tear out on this 3/8 plywood. Orbital mode number 1. Just a slight bit of tear out. This curve here was cut in orbital mode number 1. Let's turn this to orbital mode number 2. So definitely more tear out on 2 than there was on 1. And now let's go all the way up to 3. Now that actually looked pretty good. That was going with the grain. Let me try a cross grain cut in orbital mode number 3. And there we go. Some pretty sizable chip out on this 3/8 plywood in orbital mode number 3. Faster cutting, definitely more damage to the wood. So you'll have to figure out the right compromise for how aggressive you want your blade, especially when you're cutting in plywood, for how much chip out is acceptable on the project that you're doing. All right, so to wrap up on this Kobalt brushless jigsaw, overall I think the saw cuts really well and does a great job. It's got plenty of power for cuts. It's got orbital modes that can vary how aggressive you need your cutting to be. We use the universal T-shank blade system, so there's lots of options for T-shank accessories. And what I think the best part of it is the novel system for blade change with this lift to eject system there, which is great if you've got a hot blade. You don't have to worry about touching the blade to pull it out. Fantastic there. Makes it really easy to turn it over. Just flip forward that housing there, and it tucks away for a nice clean look. I've got to say they were very clever in terms of how they thought through that. There's also the lockout here on top. That to me is more of a meh. I understand why it needs to be there. It doesn't really move the needle for me. What I wish they had here, and this is going to vary based on subjectivity here, is a tighter space around the blade at the bottom here. The bevel system, simple move of the lever and then unlock it. And we have the detents that have a little pin in it right here in the rear, so we can go to positive and negative 45, so a full 90 degrees of bevel adjustment with positive detents. The downside here is if you need something outside of those 15-degree detents, I'm not sure how well this is going to be able to handle it, because if you need something just slightly more than 0, it doesn't work. So if you're doing a lot of precision work that requires accurately copying a bevel on your jigsaw, this is not going to be the tool for you. I'm not sure that's going to apply to many people all the time, but if that's you, it's better to know than not to know. But to me, the real Achilles heel here is the battery life. That, to me, I should be able to get a lot more runtime out of one 2-amp-hour battery than what I'm seeing on this. Even having 2 batteries, to have one while you use and one while you charge, is not probably sufficient. You need to be thinking about using a 4-amp-hour battery or having 3 or 4 of these 2-amp-hour batteries. On the flip side, the Kobalt system, it's very easy to accumulate a vast battery collection, so you can get around that if you've got a lot of production work you're trying to turn out with this jigsaw. So like I said a moment ago, I really felt like these 2.0 amp hour batteries just got drained much faster than I was expecting to with this tool. So I found myself using either the 4 amp hour battery, but what I thought actually worked probably the best if you happen to have one around is one of these ultimate output batteries that I felt like I was able to actually get the runtime that I was expecting out of a 2, but I had to go up to a 4 to get it. And this ultimate output battery runs the tool just fine, clips on, and the balance is really unaffected by the battery. And just so you can see it run with the ultimate output battery, no problem. As you may or may not remember, the older grinders had some trouble with this ultimate output battery. They came out with a silent in-place version 2 of the grinder that is compatible with it. So just to be able to cross your T's and dot your I's, indeed the ultimate output battery does work with this, or at least the version that I've got. Just for reference, the date code on this Jigsaw is 0920, so September 2020, and this does work with the ultimate output battery. I can't speak for the older versions of the Jigsaw, but obviously 0920 does work, and you can find those numbers on the back of your box too if you're so interested. So if you've got one of these or thinking about it or have any other questions or comments, put it down below. Any experience to share, love to hear about it too. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day. Bye.